Hi, I'm Mia Brown, the Director of Operations at Honk, and welcome to our discussion on the ins and outs of implementing contactless payments. We're going to be talking about implementing contactless payments in your parking facility and non-parking facilities across North America. The agenda today, we're going to have a quick overview of Honk, where we've come from and where we're going. We're going to launch into 3 case studies on different operators who have used our product in various ways to create efficiency, save money, and create amazing customer experiences through parking. And then we're going to have a Q&A at the end. I'll take any and all questions. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the Q&A box, and we'll go over them afterwards. Let's go. So just a little overview about Honk. It was founded in 2013 in Toronto at our CEO's kitchen table, where he realized that there was a better way to do parking. We are across North America, the US and Canada. We're right across Canada and in about 30 states across the US. From coast to coast, we are operating in over 150 cities, small to large municipalities, universities, anything you can think of. We've got 300 private operators, more than 300 private operators, again, small to medium-sized municipalities, tons of colleges and universities, which actually operate as small to medium-sized municipalities as well. What we do it all. For your parking operation, we take all kinds of unattended parking payments. We've even sort of expanded outside of the parking situation and expanded to take all kinds of digital parking payments, unattended parking payments throughout the world. We do EV charging. I'm just going to go around the list. EV charging, we have an integration with a system that allows you to pay for your parking and turn on the EV charger at the same time and take your payment, and turns off the EV charger when your charge is finished. We do daily parking, which is reliant on our app, as well as our QR code-based system, which is an express checkout, guest checkout system for those who don't want to download an app and register and take the time. This is the QR code-based technology that we've expanded outside of parking to take payments in the event space for merchandise, and baseball teams, we're starting to sell merchandise for baseball teams as well. So daily parking has been a huge boon for us. We also take monthly payments. We have recurring monthly payments for parking, as well as non-recurring permits, semester-long permits, year-long permits, resident permits for residents in municipalities that all funnel in through our system and out to sometimes a third-party enforcement system. We funnel all of this through our business intelligence software to provide you with all kinds of insights. You get all of your information at a touch of a button all the time, 24/7. It's available to you. We've expanded again our QR code-based technology to provide validations for parking. So we can allow for the public to actually pay for their parking and process payments in a regular facility, just as the public, and then when they go into a storefront, an office, that allows for discounted parking as well. We do this based on, again, validations with the QR codes, but also with promo codes. We have a super robust promo code system that allows folks to provide discounts and free parking to multitudes of people in multitudes of ways. They can lock it down to a $1 discount, a percentage discount, a percentage over time, a dollar value over time. We can lock it down to a single venue or across an entire company. We have created an amazing product we call FlexPass that is a middle ground between monthly parking and daily parking, where it was created actually during COVID to respond to the needs of users who were not coming back full-time necessarily to work or to school, but wanted more value out of their parking rather than paying the daily rack rate. So it's like a coupon book of parking passes that you can redeem over time in any facility. We also do a ton of reservations. We're going to go over that a little bit later. For events, any kind of sporting event, we do it at ski resorts. You can reserve your parking any which way. We integrate with gates. We integrate with handhelds. Again, we do it all. Our customers are, as I mentioned, we're in 25 to 30 small to medium-sized municipalities across the country. We're all the way on the West Coast in California and San Luis Obispo to Long Island and Port Jefferson, and all across Canada, tons of municipalities. We are welcomed as one of many in a few municipalities, many digital solutions, and we are also exclusive in many municipalities as well. We're happy to do either or both. Colleges and universities have been a huge market for us. They sort of function very similarly to municipalities. We are in humongous universities across the country. UBC, University of British Columbia, houses about 60,000 students that is without faculty and staff. Some of the biggest universities in the country rely on us to process their digital payments. And of course, we contract with private operators who have anywhere from one location to thousands of locations to process all of their payments, from reservations to monthly to daily parking and beyond. Okay, so the first test case that I want to talk about is UBC. We have been growing with this organization since the beginning. As I mentioned, they are a humongous university on the west coast of Canada in Vancouver. They have 2 campuses. They comprise, again, almost 67,000 students, so probably upwards of 70,000 or more individuals that are mostly driving to campus on most days. We came in about 6 years ago and replaced their existing payment app because they were unhappy with it, and we've grown to, as we've used it almost as a testing ground, and they've used us as a testing ground and a proving ground to be able to test out new products and find out what people use and like. So we've done everything, including EV charging, to help streamline all of their sort of parking payments across campus. So these are just some of the actual products that we have at UBC. We obviously do their contactless payments. We started to develop the guest checkout feature at UBC and worked with them to work on their branding and create sort of a cohesive set of signage throughout the campus that allows people to know that we're there, know that they can take payment outside of the parking meter, and that the whole message is that it's actually run by UBC. We're happy to be in the background of all of this and truthfully just process the payments and provide the digital technology. We do Honk Pass there, which has been an amazing program for the staff to allow them to have discounted parking. And as they're starting to filter back on a regular basis, they don't need really semestered long passes. So this is a strictly digital platform, obviously, but the advertising and promotion of it has been digital as well. So whereas the contactless payments on site rely quite a bit on signage to let people know where to pay and where to park, the Honk Pass and long-term parking tends to be through the website. We get a ton of traction through the websites for, like, the university allows us to, or puts on links to our purchase pages, and we've seen a great amount of uptake from their staff on buying the passes and then redeeming passes as they need to come to campus, and as opposed to relying on monthly parking. They use a ton of promo codes at the facility. UBC has a theater on site for theater productions. They have restaurants on site. They do graduation. So whenever anybody wants to provide discounted or free parking, they create their own promo codes on an unlimited basis and send them out to folks, and they're able to get their discount that way. We also developed, as we've mentioned a little bit before, paid EV charging, whereby a parker will pull into their spot, tap the sign, it opens up the charger, turns on the charger for the amount of time that they've paid for. It combines the charge as well as the parking session, and the charger turns off when the paid session is finished. The reason why this was created was because, and I'm sure many of you can relate, folks were leaving their cars in their charging spots longer than they needed to charge. And at the time, I believe charging was free, but parking was not. We've now come to a place where we've combined the parking and the charging charge, and allowed parkers to stay there for just the amount of time that their cars charge, and then both the charger turns off and the session is over on their enforcement system so that they can be ticketed or towed if need be. As you can see in this picture, we created a whole bunch of cohesive signage to highlight UBC parking and not highlight honk. We're happy to be the silent partner in all of this. We have created these signs that you can see on the left that say pay here with a single QR code that actually affix to the side of a parking meter or the side of a wall so that it's actually sticking out at eye level, and people can sort of see it and interact with it much better than if it's sticking on the side of a machine or on the side of a wall as flat. Okay, number 2. The Village of Port Jefferson is a small municipality that gets a ton of visitors and tourists in the summer. They're usually open for paid parking from April through December. We came in 2.5, 3 years ago to the village as they were quite frustrated with they had an incumbent parking app that did not get a lot of use, and they had a bunch of parking meters that were just consistently down. And they were looking to remove a bunch of their parking hardware and replace their machines with a contactless scan-to-pay solution that we were more than happy to provide. They had 23 pay and display meters when we came in. They had a mobile app that was less than stellar. They have had paid parking from April to December and just Thursday to Sunday, which we have also ramped up to 7 days a week. And they use their machines in different ways in order to give residents and local merchants discounted parking. They use smart cards and tokens and physical cash and coin. They did have a lot of problems with their processing, their credit card processing. That was down in their busiest of times. So some of the problems that they were finding at Port Jefferson were the recurring costs of maintaining the meters, stuffing them with paper, collecting the coins. Downtime was a humongous issue, unreliable service. The meter company was very unresponsive, and it was literally in the height of their busy season in July and August, they would go days without having any credit card processing. So they were losing a lot of revenue. They were out of paper, coins were stuck. They were too reliant on machines, and they realized that and came to us, and we helped. What we did was we actually converted most of the pay stations because they were reticent to just throw them in the garbage. We converted most of the pay stations to tap and pay machines. We added QR codes. They were a little bit hesitant to have the app across the city, which it is available, but they wanted a quicker solution for the many visitors that show up in the village throughout the summer. So for various reasons, people don't love to download apps. We have too many on our phone already. We don't have enough storage on our phones. It takes time. It does take, upwards of 2 minutes to actually register for an app, to provide your email address, to get your validation, to then get back to the purchase screen. We tend to see much more app use out of regular users, and visitors tend to really favor this guest checkout feature that we have that allows them to just put in their license plate or their space number, pay with a digital wallet, and get on their way. And that's what we did here. We wrapped a bunch of their machines, which we've done at various locations across North America, with QR codes and their signage that is very Port Jefferson based, so that people know that the money is actually going to the municipality. It's not going to honk. It's run by the municipality, and we're actually using the physical infrastructure that they already have on site. People are used to actually walking to a meter and paying, so they're going to walk to the meter still, but they're actually just going to pay on their phone. We found this to be a really good solution for converting meters. Even if you get rid of the actual hardware, most parking lots and parking facilities still have signage that say pay here, and people are usually looking for some kind of central location to pay in. They're happy to walk through and find someplace to pay. So here you can see a bunch of the signage and solutions that we created. We've put QR codes in restaurants to allow users and patrons to either get discounted parking or just pay for their parking if they forgot on street. We've got individual spots with QR codes on them. We've wrapped the meters, and they've really taken it down from about 32 meters to 12 meters across the village. And they've saved so much money in hardware and maintenance costs. They are thrilled. And I can go over some of the successes that we've had there. So for the same first 10 days of metered parking or paid parking in April, as a year-over-year comparison, Port Jefferson in 2021, the pay by cell, which was still us, but it was a newer product for most people, They had 2,400 parking sessions that were pay by cell, which was honk, and almost double that were people were paying by the meter. And 1 year later, the first 10 days of this month of April was up by 47% in terms of pay by cell. So again, regular users are more than welcome to download the app and pay that way because they live there and they can keep all of their receipts and store all of their license plates and all of their payment methods. And any visitors are just it's so easy for them to come up and pay that, and nobody carries cash anymore. Nobody wants to be around a meter, quite frankly. Nobody wants to touch a meter, and nobody wants to maintain a meter. So that's why it's been down about 26% and falling, I would say. It's going to fall over the entire summer. I mean, they have covered the entire village with their signage and made it very clear that A, you have to pay, and B, this is the way to pay. People are very happy there. Okay. Last example of our products on a digital basis and digital payments is a really interesting project that we did in Utah for Alta Ski Resort through interstate parking. The issue here was that the Alta historically they didn't take payment for parking at all. It was free parking, but people were abusing it. And during COVID, they wanted to start managing their capacity on the ski hill through parking. If you couldn't get parking, you couldn't go and ski. So they wanted to implement a reservation-only system that we white labeled for them, that allowed different tiers or different groups of people different access to various rates and rules based for their reservations. It was very sophisticated and amazing, and it ended up to be a really great season for everyone. Part of the problem, as I mentioned before, there was congestion and traffic leading up to the ski hill and getting into the parking lot. This definitely streamlined that process. There was no paid parking. They had no capacity control, so people would drop their cars. They wouldn't either they would drop their cars and go skiing at Alta, or they would go backcountry skiing, which they didn't want to have happen there. And they were trying to find a way that was green, good for the environment, didn't rely on a ton of equipment, that is in a very sort of remote valley that is subject to weather and sometimes the lack of cell service, but we actually didn't see a ton of problems with that. But because people were able to make their reservations beforehand and come onto site and park. So what we did was we created a web-based white labeled reservation system for Alta that allows folks to either purchase a paid reservation beforehand and make a reservation and manage up into that point, or enter a promo code that gives them access to different levels of either a discount for their reservations or allows them to make a predetermined number of reservations in advance. So there were people who with season ski passes, let's say, who are given free parking throughout the season, but they didn't want to allow them to place more than 2 parking reservations at a time. So these promo codes, what they would do is log in under redeem parking code. They would redeem their code, and it would allow someone who had free parking for the entire season 2 parking reservations, and once one reservation was finished, they were allowed to create another reservation, and so on, rolling through the season until they were complete. There was another tier of people, obviously, that received discounted parking and could only make 1 reservation at a time. We could accommodate all of these groups, and then there were people that didn't have a parking code at all, but just made a parking reservation. And then we were able to manage their capacity in such a way that once the reservations were full, people were alerted through Twitter, through various social media aspects, and they knew not to come to ski that day. Unfortunately, some people were turned away, or if there were spots available when people did roll up later in the day, we did have a tap and ski option for folks to actually pay for their parking on an on-demand basis, which was very successful. Again, we dramatically improved their traffic flow. There was no longer a huge lineup of cars into the valley, which can get snowed in on occasion, and people couldn't turn around. It posed a danger to most people. We consistently got a ton of feedback from folks who had been parking there and skiing there for years saying, this is just so easy. Thank you for doing this. I now know that I can go and park and I'm not going to have a problem. I'm not going to be turned away. I know my spot is guaranteed. And we did it all on the web well before, in advance. I was able to change my license plate up until the minute that I was going there. So if I took my partner's car that day, it didn't matter. The staff was super friendly and everything really moved really efficiently. We had a ton of transactions. They were able to recoup a bunch of lost revenue from COVID, from seeing lower numbers during their ski season, and fewer abuses in the system. The organization was also able to manage capacity on a day-to-day basis. So on the operator side, they were able to take a certain day and decide that they wanted to release 1,100 reservations that day as opposed to 1,000 because of the weather or who knows what reason, but they were able to manage it on a day-to-day basis or shut it down if they saw that it was getting too busy. It's a really great system. And that's all she wrote. Those are our case studies that are showing you how we use our various online parking systems and payment systems to take payment anywhere and everywhere. Basically, if you need to take payment, we can take it. All of our users, our operator partners, tend to be have their own issues, and everyone's sort of a special snowflake in our experience. So we've worked really hard to craft individualized solutions. Most are able to be used out of the box with all of the various programs that we have, but we're also happy to do custom solutions, as you can see, as we did with Alta. It does take a little bit more time, but it gets you exactly where you want to go. So now we're going to open it up to questions. We've gotten a couple here. So how does your system manage capacity control? So I did mention with the Alta system and the reservation system that it's fully open. Our back office system is fully open to operators to manage their capacity. You can set the capacity on an ongoing basis or on a day-by-day basis for reservations. If you have an open lot, an on-demand lot that you see is getting full, you can always hop into the back office system and lower the capacity so that once the purchases have hit the capacity with overlapping sessions, then let's say you set a capacity of 40, the 41st person will not be able to purchase and they will go somewhere else. So we have a very robust back office system that allows folks to manage capacity. Another question is, can the system integrate with T2 and Genotech LPR systems? Absolutely. This is one of our greatest, great question, and it's one of our greatest sort of solutions and easiest solutions. We integrate with all, most if not all, third-party enforcement systems at the touch of a button. We are integrated with T2, Genotech, just to name a few, Gtechna. We do gated systems. We do a ton of LPR systems. Everybody has been very friendly and open. Most third-party solutions have an open API that we can create our integration with, and we've been very successful with it. We do have a backup system on our side that allows folks, if those systems are down, to see the enforcement side on our side that just shows the honk purchases. But if you have honk purchases as well as metered purchases, they will all dovetail into a third-party solution, no problem. So another question, is there any, do we have a corporate solution? We do. We chose not to highlight that just because of time, but what we have created a bunch of corporate solutions in terms of, even in our building that we're standing in right now, where tenants need monthly parking for in commercial office buildings. We create a single zone per tenant and allow them to purchase either recurring monthly or non-recurring monthly parking at their own capacity. So if tenant A is allowed to have 3 spaces in the building, tenant A has 3 spaces allowed to make monthly parking reservations. And we also allow the parking lot, if it's a public lot, to take payment as well with the public. So we can split the lots. Everything funnels into the same enforcement system, and either individuals or a central administrator can actually work on and manage their parking by company as opposed to as a whole. Can I create event rates? Event rates are a very big thing in our system. They are used very widely. We have a really robust event rate system that allows you to create an event well in advance, up to a year or more in advance, so that the event rate will actually take over from your regular hourly or monthly rates in your location, and when you tell it to, and when you set it to end, it will disappear and your regular rates will show up again. So this has been really useful for if you need to close down a location for a weekend, or if you have a special event or you have a wedding that you are just giving exclusive access to someone, or you want to charge a different rate just for a small amount of time. You can create an event rate. You have a hockey game that day. We are in Canada, and folks will not know the difference whether they tap or download the app, and they'll be served the correct rate that you've input, and then it'll just disappear when it goes away, when it's set to be done. How does the contactless option work with those without a phone or those who aren't tech savvy? So those are two different populations, not tech savvy and those without a phone. We do, not tech savvy, we rely on our customer service solution quite a bit. We have a chat in our app, and as well as on our website. We answer the phone consistently, and we answer emails all the time for people who sort of maybe just don't get it or need a little guidance, and we're always happy to help. The folks who don't have a phone are getting much rarer and fewer and further between. We tend not to necessarily consider them our customers necessarily. We have created a bunch of mitigations and mitigating solutions to help that. What we do see is that most people who have a car also have a credit card and do have a phone. For the very few that don't, and there are a few, let's say on university campuses, we allow a third party to enter in license plates and take payment. You can do it at a bookstore. You can have an iPad, a centrally located iPad that allows someone on staff to actually take payment. Typically, or truthfully, somebody else can even input someone's license plate. If we have actually a system in Boston where the attendant will take cash, and they'll put the payment through on the system. So it is definitely a concern, but it's not really our concern. We tend to be a digital solution, and we are seeing very, very few people who don't have a phone anymore. One more, how does ticketing enforcement work? Good question. So enforcement is, again, a little bit different from ticketing. Enforcement is up to the operator, the parking lot operator. We provide you with an enforcement solution that shows all of the valid plates and the valid sessions that have been created on Honk, so that the enforcement officers can, or anybody that you elect to patrol the lot can see. They can measure against they can look at a plate, they can look at the list and decide whether or not they want to ticket. Ticketing, that's with our solution. We also, again, we integrate with any and all third-party solutions. There are very robust systems out there that combine ticketing and enforcement. We've chosen to stay with the payment side of the world and not venture into the ticketing and enforcement. So we will integrate with anyone that you bring to us if you decide that you want a third-party ticketing and enforcement solution. Great questions. You mentioned working with baseball teams for other types of payments. Can you talk about that more? Yep, absolutely. Because this guest checkout feature with the QR code and unattended payments has been so successful, we have recently contracted with a couple different venues to sell their merchandise on site. So, for example, the Baltimore Orioles will be selling their Baltimore Orioles merchandise from inside Camden Yards with QR codes. We're taking this technology and applying it to various solutions, various locations outside of parking. So folks will be able to go watch the game, sit in their seat. There's going to be QR code signage anywhere and everywhere on the Jumbotron, on the scoreboard, everywhere in the concourse, they'll be able to tap their phone, get to a site that allows them to make a super quick purchase and avoid any lineups for their merchandise, and pick it up at a predetermined location before they leave the facility. Same thing with concert venues. We're doing the same thing. So you no longer have to line up and pay for your merchandise when you go see Dave Matthews. You can tap the QR code from your seat. It will be on the programs where in a theater where you sit down, and then as you're leaving, as you're going to the concessions, you go and pick up your merchandise and it's done. It's as easy as a click and you're finished. We're really excited about that piece as well. Regarding capacity limits on zones, how does this factor both monthly and casual parkers? So that's a really good question. It depends. If you need to keep those separate, then we separate the zones. It goes on a zone by zone basis. Typically, we like to have a monthly zone, the payment zone, separate from a transient on-demand zone, so that you can manage those capacities separately. But if they are combined, and they are in various locations, a session is a session. So we consider, we don't separate the monthly and the on-demand capacity if they are combined. So if we have a single zone that has the option to buy monthly or daily, we know that, let's say the capacity is 50, we know that we have 30 monthly parkers. It will take the capacity for on-demand down to 20, or whatever you set it at, so that it can fluctuate in between. It doesn't mean that there's always going to be 30 parkers, but if you want to keep that capacity back, we can absolutely manage that for you. Do you have a solution for multifamilies and apartments? Absolutely. We do visitor parking with apartments, as well as we take a sort of corporate approach to apartment buildings. We, on our monthly purchase, our recurring monthly subscriptions, we allow, as long as you allow it, we allow you to, as the operator, to set the number of plate switches that you would like to have happen. So if you don't care, if there's 3 different plates that are allowed to be in the one spot, but only one at a time, I can bring my car into my paid spot today, and my son can bring a different car in tomorrow. All he has to do is go into the app, switch his plate to the current plate, so that it actually gets funneled into the enforcement system. And we just allow 1 plate at a time to be valid at any one time. So all of our enforcement systems can typically accommodate that type of solution. Oh, we've got some more questions. The timeline to implementation. This is another question that we get quite a bit. We do our best to absolutely implement. It depends on the solution, but how long does a typical implementation take? A typical open lot on-demand solution with anywhere from 1 to 5, 10 lots can take upwards of 14 days. What our typical timeline entails is onboarding your company, creating the company within our system. We add the rates and rules, and we are also happy to design the signage that goes into your lots. We will always approve those with you, and we're happy to have you print the signage if you like, or we're also happy to facilitate it. And then we do a quick training before we get up and running. So it can take, we've seen it take as little as 2 to 3 days in an emergency. We don't like to be in an emergency, but we will do it. And upwards of 14 to 20 days, I would say, for your typical on-demand lot. Gated lots tend to be a little bit longer if we need to build an integration, or multi zone locations like small and medium-sized municipalities can sometimes will take 4 to 6 weeks, but that's about it. I think we're pretty efficient with it. How does pricing work with custom signs? Good question. We are happy to provide the custom artwork for you and the digital files, and then we can price out signage on our side. We are not a print house, and we don't need to be, but if you have a local printer that you enjoy working with, we're happy to liaise with them and work with them to get the signage printed. We do everything from 3-foot by 5-foot humongous signs at Ontario Place, where people can scan the QR code from about 20 feet away, to small individual space meters, and we even stick our QR codes on individual meter heads throughout a ton of municipalities to allow people to have that digital option and not put their money in the meter. I'm assuming you charge transaction fees. How much are the fees, and can these be paid by the parker or the lot owner? Great question, Richard. We do charge a transaction fee. That's how we make our money. We can absolutely, the choice is yours. The transaction fee can be anywhere from 25 to 50 cents for on-demand parking, and then upwards of $1 to $2.50 for monthly parking and reservations. We absolutely have the ability to to add it on top of the paid parking fee for the user, or you can absorb it on your side as well as the operator. And all of this comes together in our back office solution, that we are very transparent with fees and everything that is charged and what's been collected, even if it's collected by us and it's not collected by you. So you are able to see in the back office what you've collected, what we've charged additionally to the user if that's your choice, and how it's been split out. Anything else? I think that's it. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope you've learned something. I know I have, about webinars and what a public speaker should do. I'm always open for questions and to comment and consult on anybody. And if you ever have a problem with your parking solution or need any help and just some really creative ideas, please don't hesitate to hit us up. Oh, there's one more question. Is there a setup initial startup fee as well? No. We do software as a service fee. We do charge software as a service fees for our guest checkout solution, as well as some other solutions. And if there's a custom solution that we need to build for you, we always discuss timeline and cost, but just to set up the digital solution, there is no startup fee. So the question is, who is the merchant of record for credit card transactions, and are you PCI compliant? We are 100% PCI compliant. We take our security and safety of our payments very seriously. The merchant of record can be now, very excitingly, anyone and everyone. We typically are the merchant of record, but if you want to, we have a brand new system that allows you to be the merchant of record, that you can own your own merchant account and have a ton of insight into chargebacks, charges that are coming through. You can have daily deposits with this new system, or monthly or weekly if you're on our merchant account. We are very flexible in that way. And I think we are one of the first to actually be providing people with their own merchant accounts, as opposed to hopping onto your existing merchant account if you're a municipality or an existing operator. So again, hit us up with any questions and concerns. We're always happy to help and figure out a solution that works for you. Okay. Thanks so much. Stay tuned for the next one. Have a great day.